A 47-year-old Oklahoma man was arrested for armed robbery of a convenience store. His case was set for trial in an Oklahoma City courtroom. During the trial, the man told the judge he was not happy with his lawyer, so he fired him. The judge then honored his request to act as his own attorney. We've all heard the saying, "A man who is his own lawyer has a fool for a client." In other words, self-representation in court is likely to end badly. But according to the assistant district attorney, the defendant actually did a fairly decent job stating his case. That is, until the woman who managed the convenience store he was accused of robbing testified against him. As she made what sounded like a strong case against the man, he started to lose his cool. But before the manager even finished her testimony, the man jumped up and called her a liar. He then had what can only be described as a wanna-get-away moment, because he next yelled out, "I should have blown off your blanking head." Of course, he used the F-bomb while issuing this threat. Remember, he is saying this in a packed courtroom with a judge and jury. After a brief pause and realizing where he was, he quickly added, "If I had been the one that was there." But by then it was too late. The damage had already been done. One can only imagine what was going through the judge's mind when he heard what amounted to a full confession in the form of a violent outburst. The man also made the job of the jury a lot easier as well. It took the jury just 20 minutes to deliberate and convict this guy of armed robbery. They then recommended he be given a 30-year sentence. In 2011, a group of thieves burglarized a Pittsburgh convenience store. According to police, they took numerous boxes that included cartons of cigarettes, cartons of candy, and approximately $8,000 in cash. Most thieves would have been quite satisfied with the $8,000 and cartons of cigarettes. But since so much candy was taken, police suspected that these were probably a bunch of kids. They were able to confirm this after one of the thieves posted photos of the 4 suspects posing with the stolen cash on Facebook. The pictures were uploaded about an hour later after they committed the crime. According to a detective working on the case, the teen who posted the images was 18. His accomplices ranged in age from 14 to 17. The 18-year-old had hundreds of friends on Facebook. Their young ages became quite apparent once police discovered what they had done after the burglary. The kids went on a shopping spree after the crime. According to police, they came home with shopping bags full of new Michael Jordan tennis shoes and clothes. This prompted their parents to ask where they got the money to buy all these expensive items. But by the time the parents determined what happened, police were already tracking down the teens based on their Facebook photos and surveillance video from the store. The grandmother of one of the boys called police after she was told about the Facebook pictures by a relative. The detective had this to say about the suspects. "Well, I guess they're just stupid kids. They thought they could put the pictures out there for their friends who friended them on Facebook to see. But some of them were relatives who became concerned and called police." A police sergeant later said that one relative found it very concerning that she knew of the burglary and that one of the suspects was a family member. So she did her civic duty and called law enforcement. Police said that the younger suspects hadn't been in trouble before. Thus, after they were charged in juvenile court with burglary and criminal conspiracy, they were then released to their parents' custody. However, the 18-year-old had been arrested previously for drug possession. He was placed in the Allegheny County Jail on $50,000 bail. Stupid criminals come from all parts of the world. While we mostly focus on crimes in the United States, we also often point out stupid crimes elsewhere. This next story takes us to the country of Croatia. In the capital city of Zagreb, police had just pulled over a car that was driving erratically. They found 2 men inside acting very suspicious. So officers performed a search of the car. That's when they discovered 100 grams of marijuana inside the vehicle. The men were then taken into custody. So right now we have 2 individuals busted for drug possession. But while they were being questioned at the station, one of the men received a text message from a friend. Since he was in police custody, officers had possession of his phone and saw the text message. It contained just 4 simple words. "Water my weed, please." Police then traced the call to a house in the area. When they arrived at the home, they discovered that the caller was growing marijuana in his backyard. Since he had asked someone else to water his weed plants, he obviously was not home at the time. But police eventually located the suspect and gave him the bad news. That is, not only did his weed not get watered, but he was also getting arrested. While it's quite common for people to use technology while engaging in criminal activity, it has also become quite common for them to get busted by the same methods. In contrast, we've heard many stories of smart criminals who use coded messages. For example, "feed my cat" instead of "water my weed." Or they may simply abbreviate the request with something like WMWP. Of course, we certainly are not trying to give crooks any ideas. In fact, these tactics are pretty well known. But it does explain, at least in some instances, why certain crooks always get busted and others seldom if ever do. Also, you'll notice that our stories cover crimes that were either recently committed or took place many years ago. That tells us everything we need to know. That is, there will always be dumb criminals among us. In 2022, 2 men in Alabama tried to make some quick money by stealing one of these devices. It's a radar speed warning trailer and it's used to warn people when they're driving too fast. In other words, it's supposed to stop you from breaking the law. And as these 2 men discovered, it does its job quite well. Police said the men were trying to steal the trailer so they could sell the batteries, which can sell for hundreds of dollars each. But as you can see, it's not easy stealing a speed warning trailer. First of all, they are quite large. Also, they are located out in the open, which means people will probably see you. Let's face it, pushing a speed warning trailer around is going to attract attention. But even more importantly, they have GPS tracking devices installed. All police had to do was follow the signal to where one of the suspects was located. He then led police to his accomplice. This was such a ridiculous crime that one officer said, "It just shows you, we've got crazy people running around." The 2 men were arrested and charged with first-degree theft of property and first-degree criminal mischief.